Hi there guys, so as we know, Anthony Joshua lost a lot of weight for the Andy Ruiz Jr. rematch, purely for that fight, but that does not mean that he is going to remain at that weight. Now the reason behind the weight loss was obviously to be more mobile and to increase his speed and maneuverability and stamina. Stamina was one of the main things I believe, because you cannot stay on your toes and move like that when you are carrying excess fat or muscle. So ultimately, he had to cut down in order for his game plan to work. So Anthony Joshua did lose just over half a stone in order for him to be able to have that stamina and maneuverability. But will he gain that muscle back? Well, Anthony Joshua is looking fuller already. I think, to be honest, it was specifically just for that fight. I think he will start putting on a little bit more weight. And I mean, he's out of camp now, so he's going to put on a bit of size anyway. But I don't think Anthony Joshua will continuously weigh in at 16 stone 13 pounds. But his trainer, Angel Fernandez, has explained that the weight loss was key to the victory over Andy Ruiz Jr. And I'd be inclined to agree with him, because Anthony Joshua needed to be on his toes, he needed to be moving and changing direction all the time, and he needed that stamina to hold up. Now, it wasn't just the weight loss that meant that Anthony Joshua had the stamina going across the full 12 rounds. It was also because he was controlling the pace and he was controlling the distance. And that meant the fight was being fought on his terms, meaning Anthony Joshua wasn't expending any nervous energy. Whereas if he was, that would have been a big factor, and that would have made him gas quicker, because obviously you tense up when you are nervous, and that meant he wasn't throwing loose. I mean, that's what happened in the first fight. As soon as he got hit with a shot he didn't see coming in the wrong place, and it stunned him. And from that moment on, he was draining nervous energy as well, because he didn't really know what was happening. Whereas in the rematch, he was in complete control throughout the full 12 rounds and schooled Andy Ruiz Jr. And as I said, that meant his stamina held up. But obviously the weight loss did play a factor as well. Now, a lot of the concerns were Anthony Joshua's punch resistance going into the rematch because he was lighter. And I explained in the build-up, and it did come to fruition. Anthony Joshua will actually be taking punches better because he is lighter, because he will be moving with the shots, he will be riding shots, and he won't be getting hit as much anyway. So ultimately, you do not need to be able to take the kitchen sink if you do not get hit with the kitchen sink. I mean, that's the sweet science of boxing, hit and don't get hit. And Anthony Joshua displayed that beautifully on December 7th, because he went 12 rounds and barely sustained any punishment from Andy Ruiz Jr. Yes, Andy Ruiz Jr. was heavier. Yes, he was bigger. Maybe he didn't train the way he did for the first fight, but he still knew he had a world title fight against Anthony Joshua, so he had no excuses to not be prepared. And had it been Andy Ruiz Jr. from June 1st, it wouldn't have been a different result, because Anthony Joshua completely schooled him and outboxed him. Andy Ruiz Jr. could not have done any better than he done on December 7th, because it was just Anthony Joshua's boxing finesse that ultimately gained him the victory. Keeping behind that jab, moving and hitting him hard and often. That punch in the first round that made Andy Ruiz Jr. stumble backwards and opened up that cut. That started the assault and created doubts in Andy Ruiz Jr.'s mind and made him think twice about rushing in, because he could have just decided to close the distance at any point and rush in on Anthony Joshua. But he knew there was one big right hand waiting for him when he tried that. So that is why he kept his distance, and that is why he tried to do almost what he'd done last time. But Anthony Joshua did not allow him the success that he got last time, because the only way that Andy Ruiz Jr. could close the distance and get success and land any shots was when Anthony Joshua allowed him to. He allowed him to in the first fight. Let's remember, Anthony Joshua was in control and he rushed in trying to close the show and got caught with something he didn't see coming and something he didn't recover from. But he allowed Andy Ruiz Jr. the opportunity to get that shot away. Had Anthony Joshua not rushed in like that, then Ruiz would not have landed that punch. And in the rematch, Anthony Joshua did not allow that to happen. He thwarted all of the success of Andy Ruiz Jr. and did not allow him to work. Now, as we all know, Anthony Joshua made some additions to his camp in the build-up to the Andy Ruiz Jr. fight. He brought in a trainer called Angel Fernandez. Now, this is what Fernandez had to say about Anthony Joshua and how he learned and lost weight for the rematch. We couldn't go and engage with Ruiz because he's got very fast hands. Some people just try and take the credit away from Joshua, but if you watch the first fight and then the second fight, Joshua didn't allow Ruiz to do what he'd done to him in the first fight. He took those strengths away from him. So that is what Anthony Joshua's new coach Angel Fernandez had to say about the rematch with Andy Ruiz Jr. and how Anthony Joshua completely controlled and bossed Andy Ruiz Jr. in their rematch. And you have to say everything that he said actually happened in the fight. So you can say that Anthony Joshua perfectly executed the game plan that they put into place and controlled Andy Ruiz Jr. and done what he needed to do to get the victory. Now, I mean, it wasn't a boring fight. I think it was exciting because it could have turned at any moment. We didn't know what was going to happen. And Anthony Joshua displayed a performance that we haven't really seen before, because as a big puncher, he has been walking through fighters and knocking them out. Even fighters who don't normally get knocked out, he has been finishing them. But he came up against someone who could take his power. And everyone does. Every puncher will come up against someone who can take their power. Nigel Benn did in Chris Eubank. And Deontay Wilder did in Tyson Fury. Then Anthony Joshua found Andy Ruiz Jr. But it's just how you deal with that. I mean, a lot of punchers don't develop their boxing game. I mean, they start walking through opponents and they don't really develop as a boxer. Anthony Joshua has, and he proved that in the rematch. But anyway, guys, that is what Angel Fernandez has had to say about Anthony Joshua and him slimming down for the rematch with Andy Ruiz Jr. And guys, what are your thoughts on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, click the thumbs up and subscribe if you are new. Thanks, guys.